Lecture 3 Architecture of Android. Hi friends, in this lecture I will discuss the architecture of Android and the layering of this architecture. Finally, I will conclude this lecture with a brief summary of the learnings. So what is architecture of Android? Android architecture defines how the Android operating system is layered or stacked to support the application execution. The architecture is defined by using layering structure, and there are 4 layers in the Android stack. These layers are named as the Linux kernel layer, which is the bottom layer in this architecture. Above it, the hardware abstraction layer, that is HAL, the system services and application framework layer, and finally the topmost layer is the application layer. This figure shows the architecture layering. The top layer is the application layer, below it application framework layer and system services, below that the hardware abstraction layer, and the bottommost layer is the Linux kernel layer. Now I will describe the functionality of each of these layers with the help of a complete detailed architecture diagram in the next figure. This slide describes the architecture of Android. The first bottommost layer in this architecture is Linux kernel layer. The Linux kernel in Android is the layer which supports device and hardware drivers. For example, the audio drivers, video drivers, camera drivers, display drivers, and every other hardware driver is supported by using this Linux kernel layer. This layer also provides advanced features like wake locking. Wake locking is a feature that is supported for optimizing the memory management of applications. Hardware abstraction layer is a standard interface to provide hooks between hardware and corresponding lower level softwares. The HAL implementations are packaged as .so files, and these .so files are loaded by Android at appropriate usage time. Above the HAL layer is the Android system services and application framework layer. The Android has system and media services. The system services include search engines, video managers, activity managers, and other system services. The media services include audio players, video players, camera, and other services of media. The binder IPC and application framework together are essential parts of this layer. The application framework provides service APIs to applications like activity manager, content providers, resource managers, notification managers, etc. The binder IPC or the binder interprocess communication allows the application framework to cross process boundaries and call Android system services code. So as a whole, this layer is responsible for providing system services and providing a binder interprocess communication to the application framework. The last layer of Android architecture is the applications layer. This is the layer where all the applications execute at runtime. The applications could be running simultaneously as processes and background services. The examples of Android applications include telephony, contacts, games, movie players, audio players, browsers, Office suite, and any other application that might be running on the Android. So as a complete architecture, the Linux kernel, the hardware abstraction layer, the system services, the binder IPC proxies, and the application framework all together provide services to the applications layer so that the applications may run as a whole on the Android operating system. So the complete architecture defines how the applications take advantage of these 5 layers so as to execute applications dynamically at runtime. Now let me conclude this lecture. In this lecture, we learned the architecture of Android, in which the Android OS is stacked into 4 layers. These 4 layers are named as the Linux kernel layer, the hardware abstraction layer, the application framework and system service layer, and the top application layer, where all the applications run simultaneously by taking services of these 4 layers into account. Finally, I hope you enjoyed this lecture. See you in the next lecture. Do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you.